The ceiling came down on me and my children and my nephew and my friend. We had to run for cover. My blood pressure raised up to 245 to 196. I almost died. I died rather.
Everything lift off. The light power post drop on it. Me depend Jesus stop his storm.
Quote of the day: when the storm strips away our walls, it reveals the strength of our spirit. Jamaica may be bruised, but she is not broken. We will rise again. Jamaica, I want you to know that I stand with you, I empathize with you, and I sympathize with you in this desperate time. And to the world, help in whatever way you can. As we say in Jamaica, every mickle, make a muckle. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Thoughts Express TV. I'm your host, McRab, and today I'm bringing you something heavy, something urgent. It's not just news, it's a call, a cry for help from the heart of my beloved homeland, Jamaica. Alright, so right now, across Jamaica, entire communities are facing devastation. The Hurricane Melissa, Category 5 storm that recently hit, made a landfall and in its wake left devastation that defies words. Homes have been flooded, roofs torn off, critical infrastructure, just shattered. We're hearing from people who are battered, scared, and, still waiting. The old roads they used to travel on is like completely demolished. In some places at least, right? The hospitals they counted on are damaged. So if you're sick and in need of urgent care, in some spaces right now that were affected by the storm, you can't even access the basics. All right? Communications are broken in remote areas, and for some people they're still unreachable. I have people who I've spoken to who says they still haven't heard from, a family member or a friend. And that's sad. When you think of, not hearing from a loved one just for a day or two, that in itself is scary, much less people who haven't heard from their loved one for days. Think of the mothers, the fathers, the kids involved. It's a very unsettling feeling. So today, I'm speaking not just as a broadcaster, but as a Jamaican, right? As someone who knows the rhythms of the island, the strength of its people, and yes, the pain, of seeing that strength tested is just, there's no words for that. And I'm asking you to feel this for a moment, right? To share a measure of that pain so we can share a measure of healing. Now, here's the reality on the ground. In parishes like St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, fields lie underwater, roofs gone, power lines down, and, the homes that once held laughter and joy now hold debris. So many people are displaced, shelters are overflowing, and, the infrastructure on a whole is crippled. The official death toll still continues to rise, and truthfully speaking, it's going to take a while for them to even find out the true death toll. So what's being reported is not necessarily accurate, but it's accurate to, to what they know or to what they have uncovered in, their investigations or the areas that they have visited, just to be clear. Without power, clean water, or clear roads, the threat is not just from what happened as a result of the storm. You got to think about the trickle-down effect that it has, on disease, hunger, despair. So relief teams are working around the clock, but they cannot do it alone. So to any Jamaican that's watching, your story, your struggle, your fear matters. To anyone outside of Jamaica, this isn't somebody else's problem. It's our shared humanity. When you see the video clips of mothers holding children in shelters, of fathers standing among the ruins, of young people trying to pick up the pieces that they don't truly understand, since this is one of those experiences that most people haven't endured, directly in their lifetime. Or I shouldn't say most, but Jamaicans haven't experienced this, in essence, is what I'm trying to say. But don't look away, because For each of those frames, there's a life disrupted. There's a future uncertain, right? Growing up between Jamaica and New York, I learned about hope. I learned that even when everything seems lost, Jamaicans still dance. They still sing. Still say, we not stop, we not surrender. But even hope needs hands, right? Even resilience itself needs help. So here's my call to action. And this is where you come in, or this is where we all come in, right? Donate. You can donate. Whether it's to the Jamaica Red Cross Society, there's people saying that they're not, legitimate, or they've done things in the past. But the point is, you do whatever you can. You do whatever you can, and you do it with whoever you can. You don't necessarily have to go to any direct source, to support. And with donating, there's no specific amount. Even a modest amount helps provide shelter kits, clean water, medical supplies, right? Also, you can share the message. So post the videos, repost them, tag people raise awareness, because the more people see the urgency, the more pressure we can place on systems and governments to move faster. You can support long-term recovery. Now, I want to make it pellucidly clear that this is not over when the headlines fade, right? Farmers have lost crops. Small businesses have drowned. Infrastructure is weak. So advocate for rebuilding, for, reinvestment. Or if you can't do any of the things I just mentioned, simply pray or reflect. A lot of times we think that support is only what we can do physically or material things. But a simple prayer, it helps. So if you're a spiritual or, mindful person, set aside a moment. The human soul is stronger when it knows we're standing with it. All right? So in closing, Jamaica doesn't need our pity. Jamaica needs our partnership, our hands, our voices, our wallets, our time, and most importantly, our belief that, a people who have given so much to the world deserves to be lifted when they're down. So as you watch the videos, those real-time voices, telling their own stories, don't just click away. Let their voices echo in your heart. Let their struggle become our mission, because every moment counts. Every dollar matters. And every time you share a story or, spread the word, tag somebody, it spreads hope. So I want to say thank you for standing with Jamaica. Thank you for being a part of the response. And, to my fellow Jamaicans, hold on. Help is coming. Help is here. We will rebuild. We will rise, because rising is who we are. As I mentioned in my video, that I posted yesterday about the origins of Jamaica, we started with strength. We started with, with connection and being relatable to each other. So let's continue. Let this be a lesson that brings us together versus divide us further, or, cause any further issues going forward in the way we interact with each other. All right. Thanks for tuning in again. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. It's another episode on Thoughts Express TV. It's your boy McRab. Peace and blessings.